Yep, yep, yep. You got that right, friend. All them there pod people, they was put here by the aliens. They're kind of like those there Skrulls in them Marvel movies. It's a totally true story. You know, that's the one part of them movies that is real. Oh, shoot, I'm recording. I'll get back to you later. Howdy, friends. This is your good buddy, Hillbilly Scribbs, with you for another one of these here episodes of the Hoot-N-Hollar. And as y'all know by now, this is my weekly podcast where I kind of dig in a little bit into everything and, talk about stuff and get into stuff that I don't really normally get into on my YouTube shows. So you folks just sit back and relax, get comfy, and we're going to spend the next 15, 20, 30 minutes or so having a good old time. Now, what I can tell you about the show this week is I'm going to try a couple of new things. I hope that you enjoy them. And as always, you can contact me through the Anchor app. You can just look up my show on there and it'll let you leave up to a 1-minute recorded message. So if you got any feedback for me, or if you got a question for me, or if you just want to hear your voice on the show, get in there and leave me a message, and I will put it on the show and respond to it in like fashion. Let's see, how should I start this week? Well, I ain't done a whole lot this week to really talk about. I mean, I did do one thing, but I'm going to talk about that toward the end of the show. I guess I could look ahead and talk about what's coming up. That way you guys will know what you got in store for you here in the next couple weeks or so. What I can tell you is this. This show should be coming out on the weekend. Third weekend in October. Well, the fourth weekend in October, which will be the weekend before Halloween, I'm going to be doing a super special show. I've got some buddies of mine who I'm trying to get lined out to be on it, and we're going to spend a show talking about cryptids and spooky stories. So it'll be a good show to come out right before Halloween. So that'll be next weekend. Now the following weekend, I got something special in mind for all you folks. Now y'all know that I'm the hillbilly, and a lot of y'all know that I'm living in Texas. Well, I happen to live in a part of Texas called the Texas Hill Country. And this is kind of an area sort of in central Texas, kind of around San Antonio and Austin. Well, the little town I hang out in is called New Braunfels, Texas. And New Braunfels is, it was settled by them there German immigrants back, I think, in the 1800s. And the city itself carries on a lot of them there German traditions. Now, I know, if you're not like me, when you think of Germany and Germans, you think of Oktoberfest, right? You think of all the good stuff that goes along with that. Well, here in New Braunfels, Texas, they do a thing called Wurstfest. And what that is, folks, is that is their 10-day salute to sausage. It always sounds naughty when I say it out loud. I didn't come up with that name. The good folks over at Wurstfest did. But they call it that because it's a celebration of the German traditions, which includes German foods, which Wurst is the German name for sausage. So you get to go to this festival and you get to eat all this food, all this fancy exotic German food, and you get to drink a lot of beer, all kinds of beer. Some of it's even exotic German beer. And you also get to participate in some of the German rituals, most notably the polka. They play this crazy music and everybody gets out there and dances. There's even one dance where you dance like a chicken. The hillbilly has been known to do that from time to time. But anyway, that's what I got planned for a couple weeks from now. So I will be your hillbilly reporter on the street, so to speak, and I'll be reporting back to you folks all about everything that I experience at Worst Fest this year. And I got some friends that are going to tag along with me, and maybe get some recordings from them too, see what they have to say. Now, all that said, let's go ahead and jump into the show for this week. I thought I might try something different this week, and I'm going to kind of use you folks as guinea pigs. I got a lot of friends that do the stand-up comedy, and I ain't never tried it before, but I've been working on a little bit. It ain't very long, and it's really just kind of one punchline and a build-up to that punchline, but I thought I might give it a try, see what you folks think about it. And if you like it, well, shoot, I may try to work up some more material. So sit back, here we go. Thank you. Howdy, folks. My name is Hillbilly Scribbs. Okay. I didn't really expect for y'all to laugh at that part. I ain't really even got to the jokes yet, but I'm glad that you're in a good mood, and I think this is going to go pretty good. Well, alright. Thank you again. I got a question for you, friends. How many of you out there like to eat food? Well, okay. Alright then. Well, you know what, folks? The hillbilly likes food. Every now and then I'll take a little break from, drinking moonshine, and I'll actually eat something. Alright, well, okay. Well, folks, when it comes to food, what I can tell you is this. The hillbilly really likes that food that ain't no good for him. Yeah, well, I really, really love the food that is too sweet, that's too fattening, that is too spicy, and that's too hot. What I guess I'm trying to say is I really, really, really enjoy the food that ain't no good for me. Well, alright then. How about you folks? Are any of y'all like that? I mean, when it comes to that sweet stuff, I know I am just one bite away from them there diabetes. Oh, okay then. I guess y'all ain't fans of the sweet stuff. Well, what about the spicy stuff? I know a bunch of folks like the spicy stuff. I know the hillbilly sure do. And the spicier that stuff is, the better. What I really like is I like a big plate of spicy food. So spicy that before I get halfway through it, I done stripped down to my underwear and I'm covered in sweat, and I can feel it eating my stomach from the inside out. You know what I'm saying? That there is the kind of stuff that the hillbilly really likes. Yeah, that right there, that's probably some of the hillbilly's favorite food. I got like this kind of, I guess you could call it a kink, but I really like the food that I know is going to physically hurt me. For some reason, I just get a lot of pleasure from it. Like typically, when I go sit down for dinner, I'll mosey on up to the table. I'll sit down. I'll ease my lips down ever so closely to that plate of super hot, flaming, atomic chicken wings, and I'll very meekly whisper to my food, my safe word is fire truck. I hope you folks like that one. Yeah, I hope you folks got a kick out of that. I hope that was as much fun for you as it was for me. If you like it, be sure to, let me know, and I will try to do some more of those. And who knows, maybe one of these days I'll have a full set I can do. But that was a lot of fun. And you know what? It's true. I do enjoy eating when I'm half naked, and I do like the food that ain't no good for me. Well, moving along, there is something else I wanted to talk with you folks about this week. And this is going to be a little bit bigger conversation. This is going to be a little bit deeper conversation. This is going to be a little bit of a conversation that might turn some of you folks away. I hope it don't. I hope that you'll hang around till the end of this thing, because I think I got a good point to make. Yeah, I really do think I got a good point to make. And I hate to lose any of my listeners. I love all 6 of you guys, and I don't want you going nowhere. But like I was saying, please hang around to the end of this little conversation, because I think it'll be well worth it. All right, folks, here we go. So the first thing that I thought I might talk to y'all about is I thought we might have a little bit of talk about our transgender friends out there. Now, over the years, I've had a few friends of that nature, and I have some friends today of that nature. Now, I know it ain't right to generalize folks, but for the sake of what I need to say today, I'm going to do just that. Or I'm going to do that just a little bit anyway. And hopefully this conversation will go where I'm aiming for it to go. So our transgender friends, and some of us got transgender in our family. And, for the most part, these folks was born one way and spent part of their life that way, right? And then at some point in their lives, they get a feeling and, make a decision that they want to be something else. And that's okay. You know what we call that? We call it growth. There ain't nothing in the world wrong with wanting to be something different than you are. Now, today, for folks wanting to change themselves, we got them their hormones they can take. And they got, those special surgeries they can do to switch up their kibbles and bits. And that'll even let them grow, or get rid of their hoo-haws as well. And anyway, what I'm getting at is all of this allows these folks to do this a lot more successfully today than they've been able to in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, it don't turn out completely successful for everybody. But when you factor in their personalities and their traits and their behaviors, you can see a change in them. And in that regard, it does help them to be successful at this. And as a result, a lot of perceptions about these types of folks has changed very much so today. Now, the whole reason that I bring up our transgender friends is because I want to use them to help make a point. Have you folks out there ever heard of them there El Camino cars? And I call them cars because that's what they are. Now, I would argue in many ways that their El Camino car is kind of the transgender of the automotive world. Now, just tap the brakes and hear me out, folks. Now, this car, and I call it that because that's what it is, started out as a car and then got some sort of, highfalutin dreams that it wanted to be one of them there pick-em-up trucks. Now, folks, unfortunately for these El Caminos, they did not have available to them any hormone treatments or any of them surgeries or any of them personalities or any of them behaviors that our transgender friends have. So, the El Camino just ain't pulled it off very well. As a result, these El Caminos are stuck between being a car and being a very, very sad excuse for a pick-em-up truck. And that ain't its fault, folks. It is one thing. It desperately wants to be something else. It just ain't quite able to pull it off. So all that reminds me of what I did this past week. I got on that there Netflix and I watched this movie, and I'll use that term fairly loosely, even though that's what it is. But I watched this movie called El Camino. Now, this movie on the Netflix, it comes from that TV show, the one called The Breaking Bad. And it was a really, really great TV show. It still is a great TV show. It has excellent writing and directing. A lot of that's done by the same feller. An excellent cast. All kinds of wonderful actors on that show. And that there Breaking Bad was super duper popular when it was on the TV. And still is. And when it was on the TV, it won all kinds of awards. Just a really, really good TV show. No, a really great all-around TV show. It was awesome at being a TV show. It was born a TV show. Now, at some point during its life, this TV show has gone and decided that it wants to identify itself as and be a movie. And that, folks, brings me to this movie calling itself El Camino that is on the Netflix. It fancies itself as a Breaking Bad movie. Now, when the Breaking Bad TV series ended and they closed up shop, let me go back and just say that TV show had a heck of an ending. A lot of really great TV shows today, when they come to the end of their run, they have themselves a pretty tough time sticking the landing. But Breaking Bad is one of the few exceptions where the show ended well. For the most part, it finished up the story that it was trying to tell. Now, that said, there were a few dangling storylines left. And that's where this El Camino movie picks up. Now, I ain't gonna spoil any of it, folks, in case y'all want to check it out, because it ain't terrible by no stretch. I mean, it's pretty good, actually. So if you ain't seen it, definitely go and check it out. But here's what I have to say about it. It just don't feel like a movie, folks. What it feels like is like if they were to film one more super-sized long episode in the final season of the show. Kind of a, what is that fancy word they use for that stuff? What is it? Kind of like one of them, their epilogues. That's right, like an epilogue. If they were to film or if they had just filmed one more extra long epilogue episode to tie up the few loose end storylines, that's pretty much what this thing calling itself a movie is. And it ain't its fault. So what I'm getting at with this movie is, in a lot of ways, it's like that there El Camino car. It definitely started out as one thing, probably should have stayed that thing, but it wanted to be something else. Now, what it ended up being was not really a great version of what it was wanting to become. And, unlike, our transgender friends, it lacks some of the things to help pull the transition off. But here's the point I wanted to make, folks. And this is why all 6 of you stayed around through this whole conversation. Whether we're talking about our friends or our families, transgender folks, non-transgender folks, whether we're talking about an automotive vehicle fancying itself as something it ain't, or whether we're talking about a TV show trying to be more than it really is. My point is, we can still like all of that. We can still enjoy all of that, folks. Don't judge anything on what it was. Don't judge it on what it's trying to be. The key is to accept and love things and people how they are right now. That's my point, folks. We live in a world where everyone wants to have an opinion on stuff, where everyone wants to vocalize and tell everyone else what's wrong with everything. Well, folks, don't do that. Let's just accept and take people and things the way they are. I think that'll make for a much happier world, don't you think? And if we can help people or things become what they're trying to become, let's help. Let's not hurt. Let's not hinder. But mostly, let's just accept and love people and things the way they are. I don't do this podcast to preach, but a lot of the way the hillbilly lives comes straight out of that there good book. And what I'm saying right here, right now, that's exactly what the good book says. I'm pretty sure it says in there somewhere that we're just supposed to treat everyone like we would want to be treated ourselves. And we're just supposed to love them like we love ourselves. So, I do apologize for getting a little bit deep there, but I thought it was something important that needed to be said. And I hope y'all stuck around and made it till the end of the conversation. And I hope y'all will treat me that way too. This here hillbilly, I done a lot of this stuff on YouTube. This podcasting is something new to me that I'm trying to get into, and I'm trying to be successful at. So hopefully y'all will accept the hillbilly the way he is right now, and y'all will help and not hinder me from getting better at podcasting. And, and just getting better at all the things that I'm trying to do with myself and my life. Now, I do appreciate all maybe we have 7 listeners now. But I appreciate all of y'all sticking with me. A little bit of housekeeping, so to speak. I've been trying to crank out one of these episodes once a week because that gives me more practice and it helps me to get better at doing these here things. Now, what I'm going to say about all that is this. Some of the episode, or the number of episodes, is probably going to slow down just a little bit. Now, I will still try to crank one of these out every week. I got a couple of episodes lined up for the next 2 weeks. After that, I may slow down just a little bit. But I promise you that you will still be getting at least a couple of these every month. And as much as I'm able to, I'll try to keep up the once a week schedule. These things ain't that long. It don't really take up a whole bunch of the hillbillies' time. A lot of it's just kind of coming up with ideas, because I want to entertain you folks, and I want to keep you coming back and listening. So, I guess that's about it for this week. Remember, you can find the hillbilly on most social media. Just look up Jeff Saunders 74, or heck, you can actually look me up as Hillbilly Scribbs in a lot of places. I ain't real hard to find. I ain't hiding from nobody. But look me up, and like I mentioned earlier, if you got a question or a comment or a suggestion, feel free to use that voice message recording thing in the Anchor app, and give me a little shout out, and I will put you on the show. And be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have a special Halloween episode, and it's going to be all about cryptids and all about spooky stories, and shoot, we may even throw a conspiracy theory or two in there. Y'all know I like those. So make sure you dig out and polish up your tinfoil hats, folks, because you're going to need them. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll be reporting back on all the fun and festivities that we have at that there Worst Fest. So until then, until next time, you folks have a glorious week.